I don't know if any of you heard when I had done some of the radio shows a number of years ago, where I was being asked to talk about, either my clinics or I was being asked to talk about why quit, and but doing it for a mass radio audience. And in either case, whether I was talking about a clinic or whether I was talking about my online work, it's never, if I get the opportunity to be talking to the masses, through radio, through television, through any real big media, my major emphasis has never been on, oh, how important it is to get to one of my sites or to get to one of my programs, if it, if that's going to be your only chance of quitting smoking. The vast majority of people who quit smoking have done so without ever hearing of me, without ever hearing of my programs, without ever hearing of a lot of professional programs, or at least without ever going to them. The vast majority of people who quit smoking have done it on their own. And I've covered this in numerous articles and in a few of the videos, just on, again, if you listen to how people quit smoking, they woke up one day, they were sick and tired of it, and they never touched one again. They leave a doctor's office, ultimatum, quit smoking, drop dead. They never touch one again. They get a cold or a flu. They're down with an infection for 2 or 3 days. They feel miserable. They can't smoke. They can't eat. They start to get better. And then all of a sudden, they realize, wow, I have 2 or 3 days under my belt. Let's see if I can keep it going. And they don't smoke again. There's a constant theme in those. People really do quit smoking in large numbers. We have more former smokers today alive than current smokers. Over half the people who used to smoke have quit. And this just cannot be said enough. One of my biggest complaints about experts in this particular field is they try to downplay that at every level. It's almost like they're trying to say how important it is to come to their program because your chances of succeeding in quitting smoking are just so dismal. They're just so remote. And gosh, if you meet someone who quits smoking on their own, that's just the exception to the rule. And it's not. It's the other way around. And I just never want to be a person who helps perpetuate this idea that people have to go to programs to quit smoking. Because what they're really perpetuating is the idea that it's just really hard and close to impossible to quit smoking unless there's some sort of major intervention. And it's just not true. That really makes it harder for everybody involved. That's why when you were discussing this thing about your friend who maybe didn't want any help in this, okay, they might be able to do it. What you're doing right now is great. You know what you're doing right now? You're setting the example. You're not smoking. That is what everybody who's encountered our sites or anybody who's quit without any encounter, the influence they have on people around them, if they let them understand this, that they don't smoke anymore. They don't smoke anymore, and their life isn't centered around not smoking. They just don't smoke anymore. And the longer people go without smoking, the more of a habit not smoking does become. And, if you're going to be talking to people, don't feel the need that you have to push them to get, some sort of assistance. But just push the concept that there really is life after smoking, and it really is a good life. So anyway, I just thought this was an important one enough to highlight here, to get everybody to understand that you will have influences on people around you. But that influence is not necessarily going to be like, oh, you got to drag them into our program. That influence is just showing them that there is life after smoking and that you're happy with that life. And it doesn't mean you're happy every moment, every waking moment. You were never happy every waking moment in your life. There were things that were bothersome, but it's important for people to realize that, well, that was happening whether you were smoking or not. But on an overall basis, you're happier now than when you were smoking, even when encountering problems, that you're encountering them without smoking and, surviving through them. So anyway, I just thought this was worthwhile mentioning here, and, everybody who has contact with other people, let them understand that. The one group that I would say I would like people to talk to are your healthcare providers. When you go to your doctor and they ask you, do you smoke, and you say that you've quit, or if they knew you were a smoker and now they're following up, do push with them what you did. And again, what I'm talking about isn't push them into our program. That's not it. It's push them to understand, or help them to understand that how you quit smoking was you just quit smoking, and that it's going well, and that you realize, after, you can say where you learned it if you want. You can say, that you went to a site and it really pushed home the point that the vast majority of people who quit have done so on their own, but you went to a site for help. But that site really did try to push that concept that is how people are able to quit smoking. They don't need, and again, doctors, let's understand something. They are not necessarily trained in anything in quitting smoking other than, you have to prescribe medication to them. If you can get your healthcare providers to understand that this isn't the case, and the way to get them to really believe it is ask them to really start surveying their patients who used to smoke, who don't smoke anymore, and find out how they did it. Because the more they ask that question and the more they get that answer, not from you and not from people who come in via us, but to their general clientele, to their family and their friends, people who are credible to them in a way sometimes their patients are not. The more they start to hear this, the more the light bulb will go off for them, what they can do to help their patients, to really help their patients. So that is one group that I would say, don't hold back on. Let them know how you quit and what you've learned and what your understanding is, and see if you can encourage them to do that same sort of survey themselves. So, okay, that's it for this one, and I'm glad you highlighted that particular topic.